The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
Hello, guys.
What's up? How's it going, buddy?
Bro, good. Bro, I love your chair, man. It looks like you're about to go do a race. Tux. It's like totally a gamer chair. You're muted.
He's definitely got the gamer setup.
There we go. Yeah, the generic cheap gaming chair. It's actually pretty nice, though. I've had it for a few years. It's actually held up fairly well for the $50 I paid for it.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, you're missing speakers. That's like the only thing.
No, this one actually has speakers behind it.
Oh, okay. So everyone can have to listen to it.
I've used it like twice, though. So
Like
they're
built
kind of a
into the
personal.
chair.
Yeah, they're built into the chair. I can connect my phone with Bluetooth and literally blast out the back of the chair. Not sure why you would really do that, but you can if you.
Is there like a
want to.
subwoofer built into the seat, just to like rock your world?
Not that good, unfortunately, that was the tier up.
Vibrate your balls as you're listening to MoneroTopia. Oh man,
Are you kind of a personal question, but are you a gamer? Do you play?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't like gamed really in quite a while since I've been busy. But I definitely used to game a lot more, and I still play some games occasionally, like esports, like Counter-Strike.
Cool. I used to game and then I tossed it all out. I was like, nah, it's taking too much time.
Yeah, like some of these games you get into them, it's like, yeah, it really sucks a lot of your time away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I luckily never fell down that rabbit hole. I mean, when I was really young, we played like Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. It was Warcraft. Do you guys remember? Do you know that? Is that even still a thing? Like where you like different tribes fighting each other.
I think I know what you're
great.
talking about.
It was
Sounds
like
like
it was like
Age of
in the 90s. That I'm talking like late 90s, early 2000s.
I hit a certain age and I was like, I just better play chess instead. I'm not great.
Warcraft
But
3, I would still play today.
nice.
Yeah. Luckily, I never got sucked into the gaming thing. Yeah, like I said, a little bit when I was in like high school, like literally calling up like dial-up modems and like connecting with each other and playing.
Yeah. You have the
More
LAN,
like
you have
that
the
was
LAN
like-
party. Everyone to bring their stuff over, bring an extra TV.
That was
007.
awesome.
Yeah.
That was before my time. By the time I was born, I think. Well, no, I think we still may have had dial-up. But we were right on the cusp of getting DSL and then broadband pretty quickly after that. But I do remember distinctly being very, very young, a few times, my dad having a LAN party at home with friends over. So I do remember that. They would play
Really?
like Age of Empires 1 and 2. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Oh, we've come so far. And here we are.
We have.
now,
It's crazy.
Sucked into the internet 24/7. If you're not
Well,
gaming,
in the
you're
interest
doing
of
something else.
helping you guys move the show along, I know you guys have places to be, as y'all mentioned. So, unless there's anything else you wanted to cover.
Yeah, no, let's get it going. I'm trying to think of any announcements, guys. MoneroTopia, we announced it last week or the week or 2 weeks ago. It's going to be a year from now. So if you want to participate, grab your tickets. If you want to participate in any other way in addition to attending, email us MoneroTopia@protonmail.com. If you want to be a speaker, you want to partner in some way, you want to be come play the guitar. Anything. We're open to all types of collaborations. MoneroTopia@protonmail.com. Otherwise, yeah, consider grabbing your tickets ASAP. And then also, I will announce again, we'll be at PorkFest this year in June. So obviously, got MoneroCon going on. We're throwing a sister or brother event, which will be taking place at the same time, but in New Hampshire. So if you can't make it to MoneroCon, obviously, first and foremost, if you can make it to MoneroCon, I recommend you go there. It is an amazing experience, and it's like kind of the ultimate Monero mecca, right? You have all the hardcore Monero devs and OGs hanging out. It's a really good time. It's a really good vibe, and it's in Prague. But if you can't make it there, MoneroTopia PorkFest isn't going to be too shabby. It's going to be amazing because it already comes with thousands of liberty-loving people that will be in attendance because PorkFest itself brings in thousands of people. And then we're going to have the best tent at PorkFest, strategically located, and it will basically be a mini MoneroTopia conference. Or maybe not even that many because we're going to be there all week. So it's going to turn into a marathon. So come on out. You don't need to buy a ticket for that. All you need is a ticket for PorkFest itself. Just make your way to New Hampshire, to Lancaster, New Hampshire. Figure it out amongst yourselves. Go to the PorkFest website. Buy a ticket. You'll figure out accommodations. There's hotels off campus. There's a motel on campus, actually, but that probably filled up already. And then there's campsites. And the best way to do the campsites is to team up with other people, and you get a campsite. You can pitch a tent, share an RV. But yeah, that's all I got for now.
Cool.
Buddy, you can take it away.
I'm your Huckleberry, man. I'll play some guitar if you're looking for a guitar player.
Would love to have you, man. Yeah, you haven't performed at MoneroTopia yet.
I didn't know we had a performance section.
Yeah, we've had people, right? Did Derek Bros play this year? He was supposed to.
Oh, that's right. We do. Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I don't have like a band or anything, and I can't play crazy leads. I could just like play some cool little tunes or whatever.
I mean, yeah, we had a bunch of music because we had like the people that were part of the marketplace. They were playing live music. Yeah, then we had Derek Bros and Tatiana. Tatiana played.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, man, next year, bring your guitar. Just jump up there, put up a Monero QR code for Monero tips.
Little open mic.
I would love to hear you play, man.
Cool.
But yeah, take it away. I feel like it's been a strong week for Monero. I don't know. I mean, like maybe weak for all other cryptos, and Monero's holding its own, is my impression.
It's been relatively strong for Monero, yeah. Hang on, let me change the screen. There we go. Yeah, we've been basically pushing towards the upside, not exactly smashing through resistances, but things look pretty good. Everything else has just kind of been waddling sideways. Litecoin somehow, all the freaking Litecoin mosquitoes have come out of the woodwork to tell everyone about how their privacy coin is so great. But yeah,
I know Litecoin is the premier privacy coin now. All of a sudden this week, what happened?
Yeah,
I missed that one.
Special Harry Potter themed privacy. Okay.
And didn't Cake added some feature or element? I don't know if Tux could tell us about that, but something.
It's MWeb, but we added that a while ago. That was
already there.
July last year.
MWeb sounds cool. We should just keep calling it Mimble Wimbles to highlight how juvenile their protocol is. No, I'm kidding, bro. I don't fucking know.
It's a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's about as believable. I mean, I don't know. There was someone that published a paper that said it could be unwound. They're like, no, you could do this and that, and you can kind of unwind the whole thing. But I never saw any follow-up to it. So,
well, the argument's always been that, like, it's, Litecoin has these privacy tech features now, plus it's very accessible, right? It's on, like, as many as exchanges that Bitcoin is on. It's basically on, like, every single exchange from the beginning of time. And so it's very accessible for people. I think it's so Zcash.
Yeah,
Zcash
is also very accessible. But I mean, I guess more people bought the Litecoin narrative when they launched, and so more people use it.
Yeah, it's been around for a longer time. It's like it's definitely super. It's like literally the first altcoin, right? Or
no, I think that's actually Ripple. Believe it or not,
Namecoin was probably the first altcoin. Which one?
Ripple was pretty early. Like they were
Ripple, yeah. Like didn't Ripple technically exist before Bitcoin in some way? I remember seeing
I think the company existed and they were working on something or other, and then Bitcoin came out, and then they released something pretty early.
I had some free back in the day. I had they were giving it away early on. I don't even know what the fuck happened with
that. They airdropped.
But Litecoin's been around forever. But Tux, didn't Cake do something else? Announce something else this week with regards to Litecoin? I thought I look into that. I saw somebody. Vic, I think Vic was mentioning it.
Oh, I know what that is. I know what you're talking about. It's not anything huge. It's not something that's like huge. No. I do like MWeb for the most part. Like it is actually pretty. It is a fairly complete solution compared to like individual tools for Bitcoin in terms of achieving privacy, because you do have stealth addresses, you do have confidential transactions. The weak point is this under privacy. It kind of just does coin join, which is already a downgrade from ring signatures, of course. And there's some people like David Perquette looking into improving sender privacy, and there's also some node related, I guess, visibility issues of being able to potentially trace if you have like the ability to observe via nodes and stuff. I don't know the exact details on that, but overall, it's a pretty like good step in the right direction. So that's why I kind of like it. It's not Monero, but it's a really
And I'm
it's a
sorry,
nice
wait.
effort.
And so what privacy it covers sender, receiver, and amount when you
Yeah,
using
it has
MWeb?
all three parts. But the one that's weak in comparison to Monero in particular is the sender privacy, because using a coin join, not ring signatures. But it does have confidential transactions, so it does hide the amount with proofs. It does have stealth addresses. So that's great.
Right, and I guess the other major argument is it's not private by default, right? Because it's you opt into
No,
maybe
you have to opt in. Yeah.
yeah.
But the
right.
thing is, because it's Litecoin, it's really cheap and it's really easy to do. It's not like Bitcoin where you're paying a ton of money to use some of these
Right.
tools. But
Yeah, we got to get the. I tried to get in participating in MoneroTopias in years past. I think they should participate this year. Get the Litecoin privacy people out there, right? That'd be cool. Wouldn't mind learning more about it. I like, if anything, I do see it as a good on ramp to Monero from centralized exchanges. That's how I would positively look at it. But go ahead, buddy. Let's hear your take.
Cool. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I guess it's okay. I just don't like the way it was launched. I don't like what Charlie Lee did. I don't like the way that Brian Armstrong and Coinbase. Basically, there was no volume, and then Charlie Lee created wash trading bots to fake adoption, to fake volume. And then when people actually started adopting it, he just dumped on them at the top of the market. And I'm still salty about that. I can't lie. Like it's like that's
it was the
horrible way
ultimate
to launch a coin.
It was the ultimate dumping on your people. Like he like came out as the guy. You know,
it was
he was the
completely messed up.
Satoshi of like, and he like publicly dumped all.
And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to distance myself." But then at the bottom of the bear market, he's like, "Well, I'm going to take in a more active role here in the development of Litecoin." It's like, well, of course you are. Yeah, you're rebuying. That's what you're doing. So yeah, it's just bullshit. And I hate projects launched on bullshit. It just really pisses me off because, I mean, I got it. You know, the value extractors come in and they rug people for everything they can. You know, and then you got the privacy, which is okay. It's better than Bitcoin. But, you know, I mean, if Monero was maxed out, you know, if we were like, hey, you know, we really can't do many more transactions per day, you know, and people were using it, and I'd be like, all right, you know, cool. Like I want to, you know, we might need a team. You know, it might take a village to do the scaling thing until we have like super good hardware. But I guess that's just the way she rolls, right? Like, yeah, I'm salty about it, but that's just markets. So we're here to talk about markets. We're here to understand that that's the way things are, and to make sure you're on the right side of the market, or at least to give you some ideas about what you might do for your personal stack. So starting with Monero, right? Like we said, we've talked about this for the past, I don't know, let's just say 3-4 weeks at this point, that effectively we're just riding these upper bands. Things look really good. These are curling up. We expect that price should effectively continue to, you know, we're setting up for a larger bullish movement here. So effectively to me, in the wave magic standpoint, that looks something like this, right? We're going to keep setting higher lows. We should. There might be some like big washout wick, like a fake wick, because that happens in Monero a lot. And especially if like there's a big wick down before, you know, maybe the next bullish impulse happens for the broader crypto market. But overall, like Monero is pushing at the top of its range here for, I mean, we're literally talking, we have to go all the way back to almost 2022 to find Monero at these prices. So, you know, I don't know, you could say we're halfway back to that 500 point. That would be our all-time high. When this thing goes, it's going to go quickly. At some point, the market, Monero, and or the market makers, or the aggregate of everything, people are going to decide, hey, it's time for this thing to go, and it's just going to launch here to the underside of this line. And that's probably the first place that we'll find some major kind of resistance. Hypothetically, we can go to the daily, and we can try and corroborate that with, it's probably hard to see. Let's see if I can make this more clear for you guys. These lines right here, the very, very top, these blue lines right there, that's kind of like the highest blue lines. Let me, where is it? Let me turn down the transparency here and make that easier to see. Maybe I'll reduce the filtering. Yeah, that should be easier for you guys to see now. So this blue line right there is like the top of the upper standard deviations, and it kind of like, you know, effectively it has some, it's pretty close to this line right here. So what I'm getting at is that once this thing starts blowing towards the upside, I would expect us to get to the 350 range pretty quickly. That's definitely where I would be trying to target. So yeah, Monero looking good still. We can even see that if we go over here to the Z-scores. So Monero in burnt red at the very top, basically Z-scores, again, comparing Monero to what it has done for the past 100 days. How do I forget this 100 days. Comparing Monero to its own history, right? Its own moving average, its own standard deviation. It's riding here at about 1.5 standard deviations compared to its past 100-day history in terms of price, which is better than everything else has been doing. In other words, Monero has been basically flat to kind of pushing the upside, and everything else has been flat to falling. So except for Litecoin, I guess because they're maybe privacy is in, right? The privacy with an apostrophe, exclam, trademark. So privacy is in, even though no one's using it on Litecoin hardly. But
And
Litecoin is
ETF.
doing. So what?
And ETF.
ETF. Are they getting an ETF?
There's been lots of talks about Litecoin having an ETF.
Oh, okay. Maybe I've muted too many of the Litecoin guys. I guess I have to unmute some people. Damn it. I have to just resist. I have to personally be like, no, don't respond. Don't give them attention. I guess Litecoin is fine. It's just a distraction. People are going to be like, oh, but we have privacy on Litecoin. Like, no, you don't. Like, nobody uses it. It's the same thing as Zcash. Like, if no one uses it, you know, like I can at least respect the BCH privacy protocol because everybody's like 50-60% of transactions are using Cash Fusion. So that does make a lot of sense. Like if everyone's using it, then you actually get reasonably good protection. But if no one's using it, or if like less than 1% of people are using it or whatever, like you're just not going to get much. So, okay, Litecoin will get an ETF. And of course they are. The people that launched it that have lots of Litecoin are probably paying in the background to make sure that that happens. But okay, you know, I mean, we're going to see coins getting ETFs. So you know, that's just going to happen. We're going to see more and more getting added. And overall, you know, I guess that's kind of good for crypto in a broader sense. I don't know. I don't know how good that is for Monero. I wouldn't expect an ETF anytime soon. Bitcoin versus Monero doing pretty good. It's still just kind of steadily marching towards the upside. Dang it. Come on. Sorry, guys. I have this little guy right here that lets me switch between the brush and the crosshairs, and sometimes I don't press it right. Anyways, yeah, so we've got this guy right here, basically still marching up towards the top side. We expect to be hitting the standard deviation levels soon here. It would be an interesting sort of corroboration point if we think Bitcoin is looking like it's ready to go, or crypto in general looks like it's ready to go. You know, so for Monero to make some like reasonable comeback here and then spend some time before it breaks back out to the upside, or maybe it just trends sideways for a period of time. Realistically, I would kind of expect this chart to trend sideways for a period of time before like really making. So after we hit the standard deviations, that is, right, contingent upon hitting these standard deviations. From there, I really kind of would expect the Bitcoin Monero versus Bitcoin ratio to sort of trend in this area for some period of time before deciding to make a big move one way or the other. But this could kind of be like one of those little small points. It's not a huge point, but a small point of corroboration to say, okay, Monero's reaching maybe some kind of like resistance level relative to Bitcoin, which could signal a changing of the market dynamics, right? We might even try and corroborate that using the XMR.D. So here's XMR divided by total 3 being the total market cap minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So basically comparing Monero to all the shitcoins. But really, we could just do XMR.D to get the full picture of what we're talking about. And it does look like Monero is actually starting to hit those resistance levels compared to the rest of the market. This doesn't mean that like it's done going up. You know what I mean? Like this thing could still kind of do this action for a little bit. Hell, it could even try and pump to the top side and hit that really long-term line. Let's go to the weekly so you guys can see what that line represents. Basically, it represents a descending broadening structure that started all the way back here in 2017, believe it or not. And a lot of altcoins look this way when you look at their dominance. In fact, almost all altcoins look this way. Their dominance just trends down over time. They just lose dominance to the rest of the market over time because there's always some new shitcoin out there, right? There's always new things being launched. There's always the new hype. And so you get like this dilution. In an ironic sense, you get the printing of new altcoins, the printing of new money. And that takes a share of the pie, right? That takes a share of the Monero dominance. It's bullshit. It's unfortunate. And at least it would be nice if Monero held its own versus everything else in the market. But just know that Monero is not unique in this way. There are very few to no coins that actually show holding any kind of reasonable dominance versus the rest of the crypto market over time. They almost all kind of go down like this. So yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep seeing new crypto networks. We're going to keep seeing advancement of protocols and hardware. And so like probably, I mean, it'll be periodized by moments, where Monero maybe makes like a sustained comeback and then eventually a few years later maybe makes lower lows. Let's hope that doesn't happen. At some point, this chart should come like massively to the upside if we get the big adoption. At least that's what we all want. Okay, we have an XMR chat here. Vader tipped 25 cents. 134 is coming soon. This vertical move is not sustainable. Well, Vedor, I don't know how you pronounce your name, but that is a very Vader kind of tip, right? That's the dark side. That's black pilled. Says so. I'm not seeing the vertical movement. We're coming to 134. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your comment. I hope I'm not. But it sounded like you're saying that we're headed for $134 in Monero. If I'm misunderstanding that, someone sing out and be like, "Yeah, you're a retard." So Vader is predicting 134, which would be right here.
Unless he was talking about Litecoin, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe he is. Let's go check out Litecoin just because. Okay, Litecoin, we'll give you special attention today. Why are we going to give you special attention, Litecoin? God, I guess I'm saltier than I thought. Okay, Litecoin. Litecoin is currently at 134. Whoa, no way. I almost feel like I'm looking at the Monero chart almost right here. This is such a similar chart compared to the Monero chart. Holy crap. That's it's very interesting to say the least. All right. So maybe Litecoin is actually setting up for a similar kind of action as Monero. It would be interesting because Litecoin and Monero were released at basically the same time, right? They were released almost like within months of each other, I believe. Yeah, Litecoin is showing very similar structure to Monero here. Quite interesting. All right, let's go to the weekly here and then see what we see. Yeah, they had the double top just like we did. They had the long bleed out time frame. Let's see where they are relative to their top. They're still minus 70. Monero is currently like minus 50. So yeah, I mean, in a way, Monero like is doing better than Litecoin. You might draw this line kind of like that. So we could either draw a horizontal line. We might, if we really wanted to like draw it as shallow as we could, maybe we would do that. It's dubious. All right, Litecoin bros, looks like you're going to get your gains as well. You're going to come along for the ride. Or maybe it's Monero that's coming along for the ride. Who knows? All right, whatever. Anyways. Yeah, so I think Vader was talking about Monero. He says this vertical movement is unsustainable. Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is not vertical. Okay, there was like a pump here, but I mean, please. Although you say 134, that would put us right here in those lower standard deviations. So in a broader sense, if the crypto market does decide to dump, there is a possibility that Monero could, like if it's a violent dump, you could see Monero violently dump and wick down here to this level. But I don't think that even 134 is sustainable anymore. I think too many people, like just from this summer, right? So we're looking here, like that's July, August, September. Even just from the summer and fall, we see more people, bigger names coming into Monero. We see people accumulating bags of Monero. Like, it's difficult for me to believe that even in a crypto crash scenario that 134 could be sustainable. But hey, man, maybe you've got some particular view of the market that we don't know. Perhaps a Monero whale showed up and told us that he's about to dump the market. I don't know.
From a selfish standpoint, I would kind of love for that to happen because then I could go crazy long on some like way cheaper XMR. But at the same time, I think there is too much resistance for it to go quite that low. Again, maybe like 180, 200, 170.
So you're hopping on Kraken and you're taking leverage at 134. You're taking leverage 10x.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's like easy
Pickings. It probably would be, especially when you see these like when the crypto market is just crashing and you see Monero crashing even more than the rest of the market, which constantly happens, which is like, okay, like sure. Monero has all like has very little volatility, fairly flat, goes up, goes down slowly, but then the market crashes and Monero crashes more. No, it didn't. You fucking little manipulator people in the background, like they know what they're doing. But the point is, there's opportunity there, right? When you see the market crashing and Monero's crashing more, that's your opportunity to jump in there and smash a leverage long at some point at like obvious levels. So, for those of you that want to do it, it is doable. Just keep an eye out. Those things happen quickly. They can happen in the middle of a day, right? It can happen in like the course of a few hours. Okay, so this is XMR versus ETH. Actually, I guess ETH has been doing okay because we've been sort of flat here versus XMR versus ETH for the past week. We're on the 3-day chart. Let's go to the 1 day so that we're not looking at weird candles that don't make sense to you guys. Oops, I said let's go to the 1 day, but man, I can't press buttons today. I don't know what's wrong. I got plenty of sleep last night, so I have no excuse. I guess I has the retard. Okay, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, Monero's been slightly flat for the past week versus Ethereum. I didn't know there was this extra band structure in here. Mostly, we've been looking at the long-term chart, but yeah, this guy right there, a little bit of clustering. It's basically nothing. We should be headed up here at some point versus ETH. So, okay, cool. Yeah, ETH might have finally bottomed. Maybe we'll look at that in a second. Let's take a look at the Monero transactions. Still flat, looking at 30K, but what is not flat is the hash rate. So Monero hash rate continues to increase over the past week. We've actually hit new highs. We hit 4.5 gigas. Gotta love those gigas. Keep them coming, guys. Keep those CPU cycles pointed at the Monero blockchain. It appreciates your support. Okay, we have some privacy shitcoins. Nothing really happening here. Pirate Chain. Oh, Pirate Chain was kind of funny. It like basically was about to die, but then it got supported. Like I really think that whoever like is behind Pirate Chain and has the massive supply, these things happen where the wicks start coming down, and then it's like that looks bad. Like things really did start looking bad for Pirate Chain, and then it got supported there. Maybe there's a reason, right? It does seem to me like this wick was lower than that. There's kind of, so in other words, there's kind of this broadening structure happening here. Is it Alt T? Indeed it is. Yeah, so you've kind of got this broadening structure happening here on the wicks where that's going down. You also have it coming down like this way. So if we wanted to draw some tea leaves, we could say that this is a descending wedge and that this thing will break towards the upside. In fact, it's not too uncommon for these kinds of patterns. Maybe I'm not really drawing that as good as I could. This is why lines are so dubious, guys. All right, that's close enough, I guess. So if we really wanted to draw some lines here on this chart and read some tea leaves, it's not an uncommon thing as far as patterns go to see like this thing could kind of do this, look like it's about to die, and then just smash to the upside, right? So descending wedges can often break towards the upside, particularly amidst a bullish environment. So definitely something that could happen there. Yeah, but who cares about Pirate? It'll probably do like a 5x at some point, but who knows when. Darrow crashing, Gren doesn't even matter. Zcash doing nothing. The only thing that's really is worth noting here is Xano has made a little bit of a comeback. But we kind of noted this. And again, I'm afraid I do worry about the potential for actually moving the Xano price by commenting on it here. So if it does what I say it's going to do, don't say that I have like some kind of crazy magical predictive power, guys. We might have created the reality together as a team. But yeah, we did say that this lower standard deviation band here would be probably a reasonable place to look for a bottom, to look for a swing trade to the top. And these orange bands now, the more near-term orange bands have started to curl under, right? So when you kind of see that, you see this establishment of this band structure. If we were to go into a shorter time frame, that would become much more clear, right? So you can see that much more clearly. So yeah, I mean, this thing has come back to the tune of about 50%. So that's Xano. Again, I'm going to just like stop making predictions on that so you guys can figure out whatever you want that chart to do. Here, you guys here's the wave magic on that. So if you guys want to like set yourself some special levels and predict where it's going to go, but really, like, could it come here? Yeah. Could it come here before it decides to come back? Yeah. So, I'm just going to stop making predictions on that one. Okay. Let's go to Bitcoin. Let's go to the broader crypto market. Bitcoin is basically not doing nothing. Like, it's just chilling here at the bottom. You might try and say that it's broken its support line, its trend line, but that's not really what's going on here. This trend line is like an overall trend line, right? It's an over-under trend line, right? You spend some time over, you spend some time under, over, under. So it's like we're really just right at the trend. We're at the trend that got started from the very bottom of the bear market. this is actually like, it's actually pretty stable. Like I'm not gonna lie. This is actually in the longer context, when we go to the weekly, you're like, hey, this chart actually looks like it's, just marching towards the upside, slowly, steadily. Now, when we go towards the daily and we realize that this is actually quite long time frames, what we actually see is smash to the upside unexpectedly, well, sometimes kind of expectedly. Like the November election was like, okay, like Trump got elected and it's like, okay, we're going to 100,000 guys. Like he's the Bitcoin president. Anyways, so yeah, Bitcoin, but it'll smash to the upside and then it'll just trade sideways for months. So that's where we're at. We're in the trade sideways for months time period here, or part of the cycle. I don't have any like predictions where this goes. Again, this is starting to look like a juicy little target right here. So this line is kind of moving towards the upside. Hypothetically, could we go sideways, do a little wick down scare action, like visit 90K again, come back here, and then decide to go to the top? Absolutely. That could 100% happen. Could it just smash to the upside at any time for no goddamn reason? Yes, that could happen too. So at the moment, I can make predictions on Bitcoin if I want, because we can't really influence that market. It's only $1 trillion of market cap. Yeah, I mean, right now, things I don't like in terms of price at this moment. You really don't typically want to be sitting here, tagging the low end of this range over and over again. That's typically not what you're looking for. Still, though, again, we're in the profile where the swing traders, right? So when the market is capped and supported within a range, and in this case, we would call that the standard deviation range, right? We're going to call that these blue bands right here, somewhere in that range. And then again, the orange bands right there. And again, you'll notice one standard deviation only accounts for 2/3 of the data. So you're gonna break these lines occasionally. You have to understand what you're looking at here. 2/3 of the data will fall within this, this sort of band structure here, but 15% is going to be on the top side and another 15% is going to be on the bottom side. So you're going to occasionally get these wicks down. So, you need to understand that's what this chart actually is telling you. You need to understand what a standard deviation actually is if you want to use it in a way that will help you make money. We are in a market profile, market regime at the moment that does favor the swing traders, right? So you come down here, you might take, okay, I'm going to go long, right? You might enter 3 positions, staggered all the way down, and then maybe you set your stop loss like down here or something like that. You might set tight stop losses, right? Because the market could decide to leave this profile anytime that it wants to. But anyways, like if you've bought the lows and sold the highs here along the standard deviation lines, or the other obvious areas like the moving average clusters, you would be doing pretty good here. At some point, that's not going to work for you. That's going to stop working, and then you'll get stopped out. But if you've made enough successful trades while you're in that market profile, getting stopped out is not a big deal, and you shouldn't be losing lots of money if you're a trader when you get stopped out. Okay, so Bitcoin, I don't like that it's down here, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, to be honest. What it could mean is that there's opportunity to try and hit the upside again. I would really try and look at this in the broader context of markets, and is there any impulse? Is there any impetus to try and move the markets to the top side? I'm not seeing it right now. The markets they feel like they're kind of in a holding pattern, right? They don't know what to do. Definitely wanted to visit the dominance here. Dominance thing happened in the past couple of weeks. Basically a hammer. We had a hammer where like Bitcoin tried to make a dominance and then it said that it couldn't do it. And now we've had a couple candles where it's basically, it hasn't been able to sustain that wick. And typically that's not a good sign, right? Typically for a chart, that's not a good sign. You'll notice a very similar kind of thing happened here just before the beginning of alt season in the last cycle. And we are starting to finally enter that time frame, where he said, hey, when does altcoin season begin in earnest? So in a way, like this is kind of scammy. Like that whole structure right there was kind of scammy. There was a very clear structure to this chart, and then it just smashed towards the upside. And I think that was effectively, again, it was market makers smashing, like pulling liquidity from altcoins, putting it into Bitcoin, making sure we hit new all-time highs to convince everyone that the game was on, so that you got actual organic support for the movement of crypto in 2021 towards the upside, right? For the bull market to commence in earnest. So, that's a very common pattern that we see at this point. You have to expect that that's going to happen. Crypto's liquidity, they're all bonded together in a sort of way. I say bonded, please don't take that word to mean too much, but the crypto liquidity is kind of bonded together. So, we are entering that time frame where Bitcoin hit new all-time highs. What was it? It was somewhere right around here, like somewhere in December. And then altcoin season began about 12 weeks later, 12 or 13 weeks later, like where, when you see these big red candles on Bitcoin dominance, those are altcoins running. So we hit new all-time highs right around here, right around November. It was more like right here. Yeah, so Bitcoin hit new all-time highs, like sustained real all-time highs, and we're currently in week 13. So, I mean, things don't have to play out exactly identically, right? But we're basically in that zone where it's like, hey, altcoin season, where are you? Should be here. If it's not coming now, like we're going to be like, is it going to happen at all ever? Market makers have a way of being able to put their finger to the wind. They put their AI bots to the wind, and they know exactly what the sentiment is, and they use that to trade against everyone. So you just have to know that, like, there's a lot of dejection in altcoins. Ethereum, for example, it was like reaching max dejection levels in the past couple weeks. So, I mean, there is a good case to be made that altcoin season should commence here soon, right? We should be getting our altcoin gains soon. But the only problem is I'm still like, where's the liquidity coming from, right? Where exactly, like, is the impetus, is the drive for massive new market caps for crypto, right? The $4-5 trillion market cap. Like, I'm not seeing the kinds of money printing that we saw in 2021. That might work against us, right? That might work against alt season. You might have harder time seeing alt season really, really get going under these kinds of conditions. It's not a negative environment. It's just not like an insanely money printing bullish liquidity expansion environment. Nevertheless, I just wanted to point out most of all this wick right there, that hammer. That, I mean, it does look similar, right? It does look strikingly similar, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's like a fake out by the market makers, whatever. I don't know, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to add some to your altcoin positions, to sell some Bitcoin and go into some altcoins, like maybe Solana or some shit. I can't believe I'm recommending that. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that you could. It's a possibility, because that's where a lot of degeneracy happens, right? And altcoin season is all about the degeneracy. That's the whole point of alt season. It's just like stupid crap flying for no reason. One thing I would like to see, though, is Link. I would like to see Link kind of smashing towards the upside a little bit, and we haven't seen that. So, okay, those are, again, just like things that I like to look at. So things you might look at for yourself. Let's keep this moving. Let's go to gold. Everyone has some gold here, I hope. And gold has been doing quite good. We've set new all-time highs this week. So gold really eyeballing that 3,000 level. Basically, we've hit it in 2950. So at this point, gold, like we talked about, these purple bands, fucking just beautiful, beautiful. You can just get into these purple bands. Blue bands here on the lower side act as support as they go up. And you just kind of like ride these levels, you just kind of keep going up. And that's good, right? This is like steady, slow, bullish action. That's what you want to see. To believe you're in a bull market, to keep the gains going, you want to see your bags going up slowly, steadily. A little bit of positive vibes every week, right? Or at least every month, every few weeks. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see smashing, vertical, crazy, because typically that's not sustainable. Let's go out here. So let's zoom out a little bit on gold so that you guys can get, again, a broader picture of where I think this thing is headed ultimately. These purple bands are exactly what we're shooting for, right? So this thing is probably going to keep moving towards the upside and tap out at these purple bands somewhere. So maybe 3,400. They seem to start, like, maybe they're curving a little bit. So this might actually kind of do that, right? A little bit. But anyways, yeah, the run isn't over here in gold. Like, it should continue. You can actually see part of this has been fueled by the dollar index. So the dollar index has been falling. And it's anti-correlated with risk assets typically, particularly gold, right? So gold has been moving up while the dollar index has been moving down. That should happen. What's interesting is that for this time frame, gold was moving up even though the dollar index was moving up. So that was like very strong on gold's part. Let's see, the reverse repos still chilling down here, still kind of like moving down towards the 0 point. Once reverse repos hit that 0 point, that's kind of like a normalization. Like, you could call that like another sign of normalization after the economy caught a cold 4 years ago. So whether that means that we have to, that the gains are over, I don't know. But that is, right now, $70 billion that can go into risk hypothetically. Oil doing nothing other than getting back into that same range. Like, I don't think I ever really believed this spike. That just seemed like BS to me. But it does feel like this is kind of like an artificial support for the oil price. Like, it feels like this chart, just from the technical analysis, this chart should have broken down already. And so I kind of think like, yeah, oil's the lifeblood of the industrial military complex. Keeping a reasonable price for it is probably correlated to keeping a reasonable price for the dollar. But this chart does feel like it's going to break down at some point. I've been saying that forever, but hey, I mean, look, it pretended to break out and then came right back into that same zone. And it's on the negative side of this equation here. So again, that's kind of like, I wouldn't call it the ace up our sleeve, but that's like when the oil price is crashing, guys, that is a major flashing signal to you. It could be intra-week. It might be Monday, and oil could be crashing, and we're not going to do this price report for another 6 days. But that's your sign that, like, hey, take precautionary measures against losing your stack, right? Like, don't be leveraged long. Just know that if oil starts crashing significantly, that's probably a pretty big sign that you need to be getting out of the market and maybe taking small shorts on high leverage, things like that. Not big shorts on high leverage, small shorts on high leverage. Because then if everything crashes, you've protected your stack. And if everything doesn't crash, you've only risked a small part of your stack. Okay, so then the S&P 500 is also doing this like very slowly, steady marching up thing. So one of the things that you have to note about these lines, right? So you're like, oh, we've hit resistance. And it's like, yeah, we have hit resistance, but there's nothing that says price can't just keep doing this, right? Price could just keep doing this for a period of time and just slowly follow up that resistance line, and then before you know it, next year you've gained, what would that be? Hypothetically, you've gained 10%, which is about what the S&P NASDAQ like to do anyways. So like, it's probably like, this doesn't mean just because you hit resistance doesn't mean that you're about to like crash, right? Not every time hitting resistance means that you should take a short. So that's a little thing to keep in mind. Yeah, you could hit resistance and then just ride the resistance towards the upside for some time frame. Nvidia has come back from the DeepSeek woes and crisis after like falling precipitously because China was going to out algorithm all of our AI. And so I don't know. I guess people just said, yeah, okay, DeepSeek is cool, but we're still using a lot of Nvidias, and that's what happens when you take the DeepSeek algo and you put it on 100x hardware power, fed by Nvidia. Maybe you get like finally consciousness or something. Probably not, but whatever. Let's see. I think we had some numbers come out here. What were the numbers? We had some inflation numbers come out. Inflation, it's just barely kind of ticking up. No big deal. The core inflation in orange is remaining flat. The CPI, which was at once, it was at 2.5%, so really close to Jerome Powell's target, as they say. And now it's up to 3%. Okay, that's not like terrible. Still, this all looks fine. The Fed is probably going to be a little bit more cautious about lowering rates from here. But then if the market takes a dump, then they'll just drop this close to zero again. And then the bond market, nothing's happening here, right? We're just, again, slowly, this moves like lava, it moves like molasses, probably more like lava, because the whole market has to basically obey the bond market. Kind of, it's kind of like the market for money in a way, with the US dollar reserve and all that nonsense. Let me take a look at the comments. Someone here says probably those ETH addresses and the Solons are flipping to be flagged and blacklisted. Oh, okay. Yeah. With the hack. Yeah, it might actually. That's kind of funny in a way, in a weird kind of way. Hacks turn coins into like a black hole that deflates the currency because it's really hard to move those coins afterwards, which is funny. I find that to be pretty hilarious. So, yeah, I don't know. There was like a big, I can't remember there was some big hack, but whatever. I guess that's it, guys. Like, there's nothing else here to talk about that's important. I don't think we sort of covered everything.
Super chats. LOL tip 25 cents. Kraken has 10x lev on Kraken. Lol, you guys even trade? No, Kraken does not have 10x. You can do 2x margin on Kraken, but I can't even do that personally because the requirement since 2021 has been you have to have at least 10 million USD of discretionary assets as an individual just to use margin. So I've never used margin on Kraken anyway.
Yeah, they have low margin, and yes, I have a Kraken account, bro. I know they don't do 10x margin. I don't know, actually. I've never tried a 10x trade Monero. I actually have said many times here, I don't trade Monero. Like, I use it. I top up my bags periodically. Maybe try to add to them from profits on other stuff. But no, I mean, I don't even like to trade on centralized exchanges anyways. Like, I would much rather trade on some like decentralized ETH or whatever, and occasionally move funds between chains, usually with InstaSwap kind of stuff. But no, like, I don't like trading on centralized exchanges for obvious reasons. So, but it sounds like bro here does. So, I mean,
you could do margin on. Oh wait, that's right. You're in Mexico. Yeah, I'm cucked because I'm in the U.S. Kraken does not let me do margin unless I'm like super rich. So
I've never tried to trade margin on Kraken, but I mean, I saw that they offer it. I think it's like 3
discretionary assets to be allowed to if you're in the U.S.
I would prefer not to discretion my assets. Yeah, so I wouldn't be trading margin on Kraken. That
True.
doesn't even make sense as words go. But you guys understood it, so I think you can go.
I would have
KuCoin if you
definitely
wanted.
liked to, like recently, a couple times. I definitely, if I had the ability to. I don't know if there's other platforms that let you do margin with not a lot. But I would have definitely gone hard. On like, yeah, you know, like 2x, which is usually what they let you do nowadays. For like some of those crazy Monero dips we had in the past few months, definitely would have. But crypto, and being able to leverage, I think, is under a lot more scrutiny. Well, it is under a lot more scrutiny than it used to be. So
Yeah, there. I don't know. Maybe KuCoin. Maybe you could use KuCoin to trade leverage on Monero. I wouldn't trust any other platform. Like if it would be Kraken, and then a distant second would be KuCoin, and after that, like I wouldn't trust any of them. Maybe Bitfinex, because Bitfinex is now like tied with Tether into the deep state and all this other crap. So maybe they can't scam people too hardly on Bitfinex. But you're going to KYC and you just don't have
I
as
don't
much
even think
recourse.
KuCoin is available in the US. Yeah, not available in the
Oh
US.
yeah, it's not. No, like
I
you got to use a VPN and all that.
see. I see.
I'm not saying that. I'm not recommending anyone do that. But if you wanted to use KuCoin from the allegedly United States, you would have to use a VPN to get out of the United States. Some people, you know, they have like little trading deals, right? Like your buddy in some other place has opens the account, and y'all have like a little trading firm or a little trading agreement, and you can make it work like that. I have no idea what your lawyer would say about that, but talk to your local Pharisee, and see what he thinks, and find a strategy that works for you.
True.
All right, that's all I got.
Sheldon chipped 50 cents. Body, what is your interpretation of a rising and all-time high hash rate? Hypothetically, even if price was completely stable and flat, hash rate would still rise slowly over time because new powerful CPUs come into market.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Maybe we should take like an astute observer might take Moore's law, or maybe not Moore's law, but you might take like the latest processors and look at what is the uptrend of compute, and then like divide that out of the or subtract that out of the hash rate. You're gonna have to make a lot of assumptions, but you're at least you're gonna bias in the correct direction, right? Here's a little tip. Something I learned while working doing engineering stuff, and as a process engineer. You get all this data and it's all incomplete and it's all biased. Like in the real world, you don't get pristine data sets. They don't exist. Like the medical community tries to do these big studies, and they try to like do everything they can, double blind, etc., to make their studies as valid as possible. But typically, like in real engineering situations, you have limited data, it's biased, and the best you can hope to do is make some kind of definition of like the trend or whatever. Like we just go to the hash rate. You can make some definition of what's happening with this trend. Like define it mathematically, and then say, okay, what are our biases? Why is this data wrong? Like, why is this trend not valid and not telling us what we think it does? And then you want to try and adjust for those biases as best you can. So that's a really smart point, bro, that you just brought up about like the increasing hardware. So yeah, you might divide out the rate of increasing hardware. You might even like drop data points. You might drop data points. Okay, this CPU came out here and here and here and here, right? And what's the total efficiency of hash rate on various CPUs? Make some kind of scientific wild ass guess, a swag, and then try and adjust this chart and say, okay, what's the real increase in hash rate? And it would be smart to do that in Bitcoin. You could really do that in Bitcoin because you know exactly which ASICs have been coming out over time. So if someone wants to do that analysis, that would be amazing. I can't promise that I would be doing that, but it's a good idea. I would say lately, though, our hash rate was pretty steady here for some period of time, and it started moving towards the upside. I don't think that in the past 3 months that a whole bunch of new CPUs have brought have increased by like 25% the CPU compute power. Just since January, a global CPU compute power. I would say probably a lot of the recent upswing here is probably actually new people coming into the network.
Yeah, probably because of the price, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Now it's become a little more profitable. Well, actually, a lot more profitable than mine now. I mean, because just last year it was, averaging like what 150, 160. And there are new processors that have come out recently, but they're not like, we're not talking like, 25% increase of IPC, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and there's other coins that have random
Bitmain
X
did
mining.
sponsor MoneroTopia this year.
Who
did?
Bitmain.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, we weren't
okay, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Bitmain though. But yeah, potentially maybe Bitmain has something new
Yeah.
already that they're using.
It's all
now.
Bitmain. Always has been. No, but there's other random X coins out there, and in a lot of cases, those coins are more profitable to mine, but they're shit coins. So there's only so long that those coins can be profitable to mine. And now like really kind of like speculating, adversarial kind of thinking. If I'm an adversary against Monero, what am I going to do? I'm going to launch a bunch of shit coins that mine random X to try and pull hash power away from the network. Again, any little thing you can do to be like, the hash power sucks. Everyone's mining these other random X shit coins. They're not mining Monero. Half the giga hashes are going towards shit coins on random
It was
shit
Zeph
coins and not
for a
Monero.
while. People were mining Zeph.
Was that? And I forget, what does Zeph do? Does it do anything?
It was that it had like a stable coin. It was kind of like
Oh yeah.
Zephyr.
It's all bullshit. Like, listen, if you're not merge mining your coin with Monero and you're using RandomX, then fuck you. Like, you're nefarious as far as I'm concerned. There's absolutely no reason to not merge mine with Monero. You get better protection over your network, better hash rate. We get better hash rate. It's an awesome partnership. So if you're not doing that, I'm just going to presume you to be nefarious until proven otherwise. Like, honestly.
Actually, I think Zephyr might have been merge mined. I don't remember. I'm not trying to misrepresent. No, doesn't matter anyway. No one's using it instead. It had an algorithmic stablecoin that I guess failed. So
maybe if
I
anyone
can't even
here hasn't
find
heard
it
of
anymore.
If anyone hasn't heard of algorithmic stablecoins and you hear about a new algorithmic stablecoin, run. Do not.
Sorry, collateralized stablecoin.
Oh, aren't all stablecoins supposed to be quote unquote collateralized? Yeah, we added these nuts and also some memes, and now it's stable. But yeah, algorithmic stablecoins have not been figured out, guys. Like, you can have a sort of blend where there's an algorithmic component to the the near-term stabilization of price, and that's kind of how MakerDAI did their thing. But MakerDAI ended up collateralizing or backing DAI with USD, like a basket, like USDC, USDT, and like a couple other things as well. But yeah, like so many like pure algorithmic stablecoins have failed fantastically, and I think it might be the case. This would be a conjecture, not a proof or anything. I don't think it's been proven, but I think there's probably a valid conjecture out there that they can't actually work. Like in the realm of math, they just don't work. You eventually hit like some kind of profile where some major event happens. It's an unlikely event, but it happens, right? Like some big crash or, a bear market, sustained, whatever. And then you hit some point and algorithm breaks and then things just crash. That's what happened with Terra Luna. That's exactly what happened with Terra Luna. They lost people got cut by 10,000x. People lost, they got divided by 100,000x. So yeah, that thing crashed to zero almost, basically.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember seeing that happen. That was before I was really into crypto, but I was like, damn, that's like, was that before or after FTX? I think it was a little bit before FTX crash, right?
Yeah, I think that was like May or June of 2022. It was along the path of all the bankruptcies that we knew needed to happen. There was just so much junk. It actually was probably a really good thing for crypto for all that to get cleared out. It was, of course, a terrible thing for all of it to be there in the first place, but it kind of did onboard a lot of plebs. So now there's plebs in crypto and they can hear about Monero since they're in the crypto world.
Yeah,
all right,
whatever
guys, I think that's all.
I didn't want to misrepresent it. But I don't think it ever got traction or anything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is a good project. I don't know, but if you're merge mine with Monero, I'm going to at least entertain that you might be like that you might be a useful project. But I really think like just anything that's not mining, merge mining with Monero, but using RandomX, just ripping off the proof.
Yeah,
of
there's no
work.
reason to not be merge mining with Monero.
Like it's in their own best interest, unless their own best interest is distracting hash power away from Monero, right? Trying to, because what happens is these people will throw hash power towards, I don't know, not nice hash. I don't think it's nice hash anymore. I don't think people use that, but whatever. Like people will be like, okay, what's the most profitable random X coin to mine? And then they'll just mine that one, right? Instead of mining Monero. It's like, we really need to plus our hash power up. Like, we are not immune. Like we could get attacked. Like hypothetically, governments, Amazon, whoever, like there could be coordination that could attack Monero and we could get 51% attacked. That's not the end of the chain, obviously. It just means we get long chain reorganizations that really, that really harm our credibility. It's a danger that could happen, and we need a lot more hash rate to protect against that.
And it could even be happening right now, and I wouldn't even know. So
stop putting my chain, bro.
Does Monero merge mine with Monero? No, right?
I don't know. No, they don't. They do a thing where there are no pools. You're not allowed to. They're like somehow they deny pools.
Right.
It's an interesting concept.
That is interesting.
A lot of the devs, like, it sounds
really
cool in theory, but a lot of the devs were like,
P2P.
nah, that doesn't work out very well, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a different approach to P2 pool, essentially. It's like mandated P2 pool.
Something like that, yeah.
Interesting.
All right,
man. Did you see what the hell's his name was on Peter
Schiff,
the gold guy, Peter Schiff.
Yep.
Did you see that? Did you catch Peter Schiff mentioning Monero?
I didn't. That's amazing. Was it in any kind of positive context?
Yeah, well, he's kind of always been his take on Bitcoin has been pretty consistent. I actually think it's a pretty good, reasonable take, to be honest. Right? I mean, when he's really pushed, he's like, okay, well, if crypto has any value, any purpose, any utility, it's the ability essentially to use it as digital cash to send like money privately through the internet.
Yeah, we'll play the video in the news segment.
Yeah, we'll play it in the news. I just want to get Body's take, and then so obviously he's a big gold guy. He doesn't believe that crypto can replace gold and be digital gold, but he's always made this comment of like, well, if it offers any utility at all, it's the ability to like wash money, launder money, send money anonymously and privately through the internet. And so finally, in addition to saying that, he actually said, Bitcoin doesn't work like that. If you need that, you might as well use Monero. So it was kind of
That's interesting. That's going to generate. So one that generates, like, in the crypto world, that generates a little bit of positive, probably a lot of neutral, and then the Bitcoin maxis are going to be like, see, Peter Schiff is so stupid, and now he's recommending Monero.
It's great. It's just so great. I see it as a really big potential bridge with the gold bugs, right? Because the gold, there's a lot of gold people that have just been told crypto is bad. It's evil, right? You need something tangible like gold. This could be the bridge where like, okay, crypto's stupid, gold is gold. No crypto can replace gold or mimic gold, but this concept of being able to send cash anonymously on the internet, that use case is interesting. And like, you're not trying to be digital gold at that point.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, I mean, I have to give Peter some respect just for the fact that he's held his principles for so long and said, hey, this is what I think. And the fact that he does recognize Monero and say, hey, actually, he's held his principles well enough that even though he doesn't like crypto, he can be like, yeah, but this Monero thing seems to actually be doing the thing that it claims it's doing. So I can give him definitely a decent amount of respect there. I think a lot of people, when it comes to crypto, the no coiners or whatever, they correctly identify the vast fraud happening across the industry and how like just garbage so much of it is, or at least let's just say marginal, right? Maybe it's not total garbage, but so much of the industry is just marginal at best. And so it kind of like puts you in this negative frame where you're like, okay, well, it's terrible. Don't do it at all. And it's like, well, yeah, but it still does help us do digital transactions. Like even though Bitcoin is basically a shitcoin at this point in my mind. It's still like there's still a marginal capacity there. It's marginal functionality, and it is useful in ways that like my credit card might not be. So good on him for doing that. I'm looking forward to seeing that video. Let me drop another name for you guys. Mike Maloney, Maloney. He wrote he produced The Hidden Secrets of Money. It's on YouTube. Really, really good show. If you want to understand how the Federal Reserve works at a basic level and you like don't quite understand, you like vaguely know that they print money, something about reserves and banks and whatever, go watch Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, particularly episodes like I think 2 through 4. I think those are the key ones. But yeah, this guy, Mike Maloney has been pro Monero for a long time, by the way. Like he's definitely a gold bug, but he's also like pro Monero. And he has been for a long time. So him and Peter Schiff were kind of like
he's spoken about Monero before, Mike Maloney.
Yeah, he's talked about it quite a lot. Maybe not a lot. He's not like a promoter like necessarily of Monero, but yeah, he's got his like, hey, here's how to navigate and think about markets and this and that, and gold is a major piece, and he's got really good perspective, and yeah, Monero is like a quiet, important piece of his portfolio.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, always wanted to get him on Monero Talk or something. Maybe now we can.
Man, that would be awesome.
Would love to have like a Spaces with like Peter Schiff, like a Monero Spaces with Peter Schiff. That'd be so epic.
Yeah. Moving on up.
And on the topic of Monero hash rate, we are looking into, I think I mentioned this in the past, Monero Nodo project. Obviously, we have the Nodo, but we are looking into creating a plug-and-play miner. We've been investigating that quite a bit. Basically, just to
elaborate, plug-and-play miner. Oh, so like a separate device you could buy that was like
a miner. We're going to sell a miner, but like a high-end one actually.
Ryzen 9.
Is what we're looking. Yeah, like as kind of as efficient as you can get off the shelf, in terms of putting your money towards miners. We want to, we're looking into that. Abdullah's really kind of passionate about it. He's actually already kind of spec'd it all out.
Could compete with Bitmain.
Yeah, I mean that. I don't know if we. Yeah. I mean, I think we could. So we were thinking of different things, trying to design it in a way where it could also function nicely as like a space heating device, right? There's thoughts of that too, but he just wants to design a really efficient miner. It would be pretty pricey, but it would be your best bang for your buck. So we are
couple grand probably at least.
Yeah. Like we were thinking like. I was kind of more interested in like mini miners that everybody can buy, like, but he's more interested in like actual very, functional miners that will give you your best bang for your buck to, anonymously KYC free obtain some Monero.
Maximize efficiency and hash rate. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah. I'd be really curious to see what kind of hardware he's looking into for that, because I mean you could go like the more mainstream route, which is what everyone uses, is these the AMD Ryzen processors, which have kind of taken the lead because of their IPC, their efficiency, and also the CPU cache. I think helps a lot with RandomX, but then also of course like what Bitmain was doing, which they had some custom RISC-V setups, which were a lot more custom, but did a pretty good job. So
if they could ever mass produce those, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, super chat, Sheldon tip 25 cents. Mike Maloney once tweeted out that BTC is not fungible. Maybe about 2 years ago. Mike Maloney is a sharp guy. Agreed.
If Bitmain could ever like mass produce those RISC-Vs, like if they really tuned in their design, because I mean there are optimizations to be had, as Howard has noted many times. If they could mass produce those, I bet you they could offer the market a certain type of efficiency of mining that that might be useful. The problem is that like bringing a new chip to market is really difficult unless you can mass produce it and mass sell it, and it might not be the case that Monero has enough like market penetration or market share for those numbers for them to really work out.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that, which is why like my idea of selling a miner would just be like a sort of a ready to go box that has a very specific configuration. Like, oh, it's got this high end fast DDR5 with like a Ryzen 9 7950X 3D, something like that. And it's just like all in as small of a package as you could possibly make it.
You know, it would be like an interesting distro, like a Linux distro. You could be like, this is the, I don't know, like the crypto distro or the Monero distro. And you're like, it basically has really good algorithms to detect when you're not using your CPU and then just automatically directs those resources to mining.
That would be sick, because I know you can do that in Windows with Monero GUI, right? Or GUPAX. I think GUPAX lets you do that in Windows, but that does not work reliably on Linux. Just because it's
I mean, you
not
could
integrated with.
You could
the
just
tool
develop
manager.
a program that does that, right? You could develop a miner, mining software that does that. But you could market it as a distro if you really wanted to. And then like embed a whole bunch of other stuff, keep a repository of different wallets, etc.
Yeah, I think you would have to do something to get it to like. I don't know how hard that would be to do with Wayland, because I think that's the main barrier is Wayland probably, because it's like
Yeah.
it's using Wayland's a good thing because of the security and privacy it provides, but it also makes it harder to do like things like that, like being able to see if you're not using any other program or if you're not moving the mouse, right? I don't think you could really do that in Wayland. So
I'm not totally understanding though, because shouldn't that just all be operating in the background? Like that's a background process. It shouldn't have anything to do with the GUI. Like deciding whether or not, because you should be able to see like what resources are being used by other programs that are not mining related, and then compute some sort of moving average and say, okay, when the moving average dips below X, Y, or Z, then direct those resources to mining, and then obviously shut that down immediately when some other resource is being demanded by the system. But that would all operate like, at the system level, not like at the GUI
I mean,
level.
potentially. I honestly don't know how GUPAX does that in Windows. I just kind of assumed it was talking to the display server to like see if there was activity going on with the system or not. Because otherwise, I feel like there might be some reliability issues. Like maybe you're not doing much, but it ends up start mining anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. There's no doubt I'm oversimplifying that. Like, I'm sure there's some like major problems would crop up and it would be finicky and buggy.
Neil is tipped. $23 project idea: make an apartment heater that generates heat based on Monero P2 pool mining, aka Monero-based discounts and high electricity prices. Yeah, I mean we've been talking about that quite a bit. We're thinking of incorporating that into this miner that we launched, whether it's purely P2 pool based, but having it provide utility in addition to just mining, but to also be like an efficient heater.
That's actually partly how I heat my room right now when it gets cold.
So there's
My
obviously simple design things you could do to just kind of make it better for those purposes, right? To turn it into a space heater versus just being solely a box that's mining. Yeah, I mean, we thought about these. I think we even we were talking about this on this show like months ago, right? All these ideas, like if you made them modular and you could add miners, and you can have them, eventually heat your sauna, like whatever it may be. I mean, turning them into modular heating devices would be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is an idea that's been talked about forever, right? People in Bitcoin have been doing this for forever, talking about this. Arctic Mine is always, always talking about that. That's how I think his name came from, running miners, right? And like using it to heat his home in the Arctic. So he's always been very like kind of passionate about that concept. As far as I know, nobody's really cracked it, right? I mean, in Bitcoin, I know you could buy all different types of right. They made them like plug and play miners that people are buying. I assume they have them.
The BitX.
Is that like functioning as a heater as well, or it's hard? I think a little bit with Monero because it's not ASIC mined. It's like not putting off as much heat per compute. Like you're not necessarily getting as much like waste heat. I don't know. Like might be more in terms of a heater. It might be better off like building Monero miners like for those purposes. Maybe not though. I guess if you just have enough, if it's large enough and you have enough CPUs, but. I think it works.
Do Threadripper system. I mean, you can like if you really want to, you can make it so that you're pushing out even more heat. I mean, obviously it's going to become less efficient. In terms of
Right,
like,
you don't wanna,
yeah, there's like a balance there.
right,
But
you obviously wanna
even something like you're
maximize your
running like
efficiency.
one of those big Ryzen 9s, like the 16 core one, right? Like a 7950X3D. I mean, that thing, that's what, like it's not a ton of heat, but even in my room, it's a big difference if I'm running my computers or if I'm not.
Yeah.
So even in my room, like I kind of rely on my computers to heat my room in the winter.
Yeah, we even with mine
200
over here
watts.
that I have.